Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sunu Kahani, where we were reading Lallan Sweets. So today we are going to read chapter 18. So let's start. Wow, how? Why in that? Niku stood in front of me on the steps outside the gate, staring at me with an expressionless face. I had forced myself so much to not think of him that it felt like I had forgotten bites of him. Now he stood tall, towering over the gate. How I would try and flutter his stupid hair when it stood up. How his floppy ears stood out. How his eyes were wide and unassuming. And how he gripped the strap of his bag on one hand as though ready to run. To be honest, once I got over my splattering and after we had stared at each other for a couple of minutes, I did feel like giving him a soap, but I held back and crossed my arms against my chest, raising an eyebrow high. He said nothing and kept looking at me. I could see a bit of terror in his eyes now. Maybe he really was scared I would hit him. I was not going to be the one to break the silence, so I stared back furiously. Slowly, a question mark seemed to be loom over his head. Taru, just him saying my name out loud for some reason brought tears to my eyes. I clenched my teeth and swelled, refusing to show him any weakness. Show my weakness. What? I asked brusquely if he could not tell how my voice shook beneath it. He didn't know me at all. His face grew sad at my response and he hung his head, muttering a story. That took me aback. Why are you here? It was his turn to frown. I told you I will be with you on this trip. All through you left me, so I came to find you. How did you find me? Well, once you left without a single word or goodbye, I looked for you everywhere. I did not want to call Lalaji as I was too afraid what he might think of me, abandoning his granddaughter in a big city. So I went back to Siaka to explain the situation to him so that he might hear me out better. But he was never home. Your mother said he was barely ever around and that she suspected that he might be up to something secret regarding the magic ingredient. Finally, I caught him early one day and he told me that you would be here. But he also asked me to wait a couple of days, so I am here. So here I am by your side. Speaking of that, what happened to your face? I touched my wound, which still had not healed completely. I don't want you around, Niku. Not if you are going to run off at the first chance you get, or judge me for wanting to remain in Siaka, or simply declare that you are off to do your big things, whatever they are, and that if I am left behind, I just am. I don't want that kind of what? He had never committed to do anything. So why was I ever mad at him except that he had so everything he did and he infuriated me that he never accepted it, never lived up to it. He had committed the day he sat with me for a lunch at school, uncaring for what the other kid would say. It was such a big deal for boys and girls to sit together. He would be teased for it forever, but he sat by me. Then he left and drifted further and further away. His letters short and cut, and only a handful of phone calls in 7 years. Tara, I'm back, he said seriously. I looked up because he had said my name properly. Because I love you, I have always been too stupid to say it or even admit it to myself, but I am done being stupid. What I said in Delhi, I don't really mean it. I think about it sometimes, but who does not? I mean, there is more to this than Siaka, and I want to venture out sometimes. But if there is one thing that the past few weeks have taught me, it's that it does not matter where you are. What matters is who you are with. And I want to be only with you, Tara Taneja. It does not matter if it's Siaka or Delhi or Durban. My first thought was to ask him where Durban was, but this was not the moment. Seeing me smile, he stepped forward. I held my arm out. What about Minakshi? I asked sharply and he looked away embarrassed. It was nothing. It happened at the start of our trip. I had never felt so terrible as when you got up and left me in Delhi. Had I not revealed in Aman's attention too, delighted to be kissed and made to feel special? I jumped to hug Niku and he put his arm around me. It was at that moment that Masi walked up behind us. What are you staring at, Masi? I asked without even looking in her direction. He had gone away from some time. Now he's back. We caught the bus back to Siaka the next day. Niku and I held hands and his head rested my shoulder. Going by his breathing, it sounded like he was comfortably asleep. I tried not to move. We were finally going home. Well, After we made a stop at the ashram, after all this roaming around, we were right back where we had started. I wondered if this was the message Lalaji was trying to send to us, that it all begins at home, that there is no place like home. But I already knew that and was living it every day. Why would he send me on this chore police chase to make me realize something I already 100% agreed with? As I thought of the ashram, my mind threw at me the few memories I had of my father playing with a ball in the park, the three of us in a boat in the lake, and me constantly being afraid that it would be topple. Memories of me extending a protective hand towards my parents and them laughing in adorance, leaving me confused. I had imagined some memories from my mother's stories too, but I realized the sadness that my father had never really been part of my life. It was like trying to miss something I never had. What would we find at ashram? At the ashram, was I about to discover more than one secret? Murthy Devi's words come back to me. Hadn't she said that answer lay at home? A search acquisition only made sense if the final destination was home. So much had happened since then that I had completely forgotten about her. Niku stayed. I stroked his hair lightly. What if Bauji was right and the magic ingredient was Gulkand? I had never smelled any rose in the laddus, but it could easily be so. And had not Bauji said it would be the simplest of things? But why would Gulkan take me to the ashram? It did not make any sense, unless there grew some special kind of Gulkan. I had never really imagined the secret ingredient, not as a literal ingredient, a simple little ingredient that maybe added a little something to our laddus. What if after all this drama the magic ingredient turned out to be underwhelming? The thought made me uneasy. I tried to sleep, but with no luck. I could smell the familiarity, the smell of rain. As we got closer, Niku woke up and bought some chana when the bus stopped. Later, we told the bus conductor to drop us at the ashram. He laughed at us. We want to see the Swami, I said. The conductor laughed some more and told us jovially, Madam, he is a harami, not a Swami. Niku chuckled, assumed. I felt a wave of indignation on behalf of my father. Why do you say that? Girls to wake him up, girls to put him to sleep, parties here and there. No wonder the ashram is so badnaam. When we got off the bus, we still had some distance to cover till the entrance of the ashram. But we did so with a spring in our step. This was it, the place where we would finally find the magic ingredient. It had eluded us all that while, but now I knew that it was all the preparation for what was to come. The road ahead was deserted. A lone bike or scooter sometimes passing us by. We must have walked for about 40 minutes before we reached the entrance and saw food stalls lined up in a row. Pickled raw mango, sugarcane, cucumber with a chaat masala, and even fried patasa. We had our fill first and then entered. All the while I was thinking of my father who would come here often. Had he always started serving the ashram like one of the Solomon faced volunteers? At the reception we told them that we were there to stay, to experience the ashram for some time. The people seemed beyond pleased. They told us that either we must pay or work. We chose to work as it would save money. I hoped it would also help us learn the secrets of the place quickly. All I wanted was to find the magic ingredient and leave. For the first couple of days, we were given basic trainings. We were staying at the temporary housing and were assigned tasks and jobs. Soon we were familiar with the layout of the ashram and were even warned of trespassing. The paths around the ashram are designed to make you lose your way. We were told if you deviate from your designated path, it is quite likely that you will get lost and it might be days before someone finds you. Ashram volunteers will be keeping an eye on you at spots where you least expect it. Here, someone is always watching you. We know what's going on all the time. I found violating the rules. You will be expelled without any explanation. While we were told only about areas that we needed to know in the beginning, after a few days, we observed and pieced together information from both reliable and unreliable sources. We learned just how big the ashram was, with areas accessible based on which stage people were at their journey in the ashram. There were three stages in all. The final one granting permanent members status and allowing access to the prayer room. To go inside, one had to be at the final stage. Those who had been inside never revealed what they saw. In one corner was the permanent housing block for those who had graduated from the temporary housing. A little way off from the permanent housing block was the forest. While a wild animal had not been spotted in months, only an idiot would venture inside alone. They said collaborated expeditions took people into the forest, and that was the only way to go. Behind the forest was a stream that led right into Dima Lake. This surprised me the most, but Niku said it was definitely artificially created. Next to the stream were the factories, and that is where they manufactured jute and cotton products. Some way off from the factories, at the opposite end of the forest, was where the secret gardens were supposed to be. One was allowed access to them to tend to the garden once they got to the second stage. I told Niku that was where they had to reach. I was sure we would finally find out about the secret ingredient inside the secret garden, then we could get out of here. We were not permanent members yet and could leave any time ahead of the secret garden. Closer to the reception was a big auditorium and theater where they often screened shows and art displays to show the world what they were doing. I found Rohit and Mohit there on the second day as temporary members. If they reached the secret garden first, I would definitely lose. Every day we would be given different tasks like simple gardening, sweeping, cooking, dusting, cleaning the toilets, or even managing the visiting crowds. We were instructed to maintain solemn and serious expressions in front of outsiders. Niku and I had made friends with some people who were with us in the temporary housing. Some were enthusiastic and fully devoted to the ashram, taking their journey extremely seriously. Others were skeptical and had to come to see how things were. They hesitated to commit. We fell into that group. Nico and I didn't talk that much but listened more, hoping to pick up some clues. Rumors circulated galore. There was talk of parties that had started much after people went to bed and lasted into the mornings, involving every kind of drugs. People said one was taught to follow their most primal instinct at these parties. They said these parties happen in the warehouse of the factories, in the abandoned corners of the permanent blocks, and deep inside the forest. When I asked how the ashram people allowed these parties, they laughed at me. They are the one who organize it, silly, I would be told. It took a while before we began hearing the rumors we wanted to hear about the secret garden. They said there grew plants, weeds, flowers, and the fruits that were found in the remote corners of India by creating the condition in a little house of sun and heat. Apparently, there was a varieties of flowers that bloomed only once every few years and fruits with nectar not found anywhere else in the world. The secret gardens were tended to with care and nurture, reserved for the most beloved of infants. To verify all this, I needed to get to the second stage, but that was completely at the discretion of the ashram people, who knew how long that would take. It could be weeks, months, even before they convinced that I had made progress. In any case, it was big, but it was all supposed to be mean. Maybe they noted down how seriously took all the tasks and meditation tasks. Niku and I decided it was time to take some drastic action to befriend the gardeners. It was not easy though. We tried to approach the different gardeners, those who maintained the other parks and gardens around the ashram, but every time we tried to speak to one of them, they either gave us a look of disdain and walked away as if we didn't know the rules, or shook their heads in a imperceptibly, as if to say you will learn. But our efforts finally paid off. One of the gardeners extended a hand of friendship in exchange for a supply of cigarette and friendly chats. His name was Ramakant. He had to come to the ashram when he was much younger and unable to support himself. His rickshaw had met with an accident. His pawn business never picked up, and he didn't have a single paisa in his pocket. Without a wife or children, he was able to wander, and in his wanderings he had reached the ashram where they agreed to clothe him, keep him, and feed him, all in exchange for his time and energy to help the ashram grow. That time it was nothing, just acres of wild land, he said, and now look at it. If they were not so secretive, it could be a bigger tourist spot than Taj Mahal. Nico and I agreed, but why are they so secretive? Nico asked him. Stuffs goes on here. Stuffs the general public should not know. But what kind of stuff? You have been here for so long, you must know. I know some things, boy, but it's not my information to pass on. It's one of the rules at the ashram and I respect it. I have seen things in my time here, things no one would believe are happening. But what? I held Niku's arm. We were not there to know the ashram secrets. For all I cared, they could be exploring the multiple plans of spirituality or proving that zero did not exist, all while having their hippie parties. It did not matter to me. It was more important to get information about the secret gardens. But you don't care about any of that, do you? I asked Ramakant. You are happy in the secret gardens? He nodded. Precisely. I have been here for years and only for my special gardens. They are like my children. I have planted them, taken care of them, and seen them as they grow. I'll tell with them till the end of my days. Plants, unlike children, don't grow up to live. You see? Haha. Nikki smiled. So, what do you grow in the gardens? Magic plants? Plants are magic, boy. You won't believe the magic things they can do. I am looking for something like that. I interrupted. Something that is magic. An ingredient that is magic, which contains the light of the sun and the twinkle of a star. One that is very rare and used to grow in, but it is now Pakistan. Do you have something like that here? He didn't reply for a while, and I doubted my bluntness. Maybe I should have revealed our reason for being here so quickly. After all, he seemed completely loyal to the ashram. But I could not go back then, and so decided to press my point harder. We are on this journey to discover this magic ingredient. We think that it is grown in the secret garden. Some birds quit in the distance, and I looked around fearfully. What if someone was listening to the conversation? To this conversation, I gripped Niku's hand. Ramakant seemed unafraid, though. There are many things in the gardens that are magic, but in the end, they are pure science and botany. Of course, that one you said, there are some that might fit the bill. With a pause, he continued, let's see, it could be. No, that would not be the special enough. We have this variety of Parijita that is really. No, if I suppose if there is an ingredient full of magic, it would be Lalkusam. But we were just talking about this one a couple of days ago. Two boys were asking about it. But is it very valuable outside? Rohit and Mohit had to got it to it. There was no time to waste. No. But what's this flower? I asked, leaning forward excited. Oh yes, it is one rare flower. It is the red flower and I haven't seen it anywhere else. If you crush the petals, the juice that comes out is so red that it puts pan masala sport to shame. And it is heavenly sweet, so much so that it at first go. You will mistrust it. How can something so red and so sweet be so real? It's not your typical cherries or apples. It's a flower. It's soft and smooth, as light as a feather. It must be lalkusam, difficult to grow, but when it does, it's in large bunches. Anyway, a few drops are enough to sweeten anything. It is visible though. If you use it, it will give you your food a very light tinge. I was so grateful for the information that I hugged him. When we walked back, Niku expressed his doubts. So Rohit and Mohit also know about this? But it adds up, Niku, I said excitedly. It grows right here in the ashram, in abundance. If I may add, I am sure they must sell it outside, but only illegally add to locals. That's why Lalaji is able to get it, but we haven't heard of it commercially. You only need a couple of drops or maybe a bit more when we make large batches. Lalaji must store the nectar in the small bottle that he carries with him and add it to the mithai every morning. What else can it be? Tell me. I don't know. I am not an expert on this laddu stuff, but is the is this really is it the flower lalkusam? I was barely even listening anymore, thinking about my father instead. Was this why my father had started visiting the ashram to ensure a continuous supply of lalkusam? He must have made some contacts, must have had his reason for coming here. Now that I knew Rohit and Mohit knew about this, I had no time. I had to make sure I got my hands on the flower before they did. I went to sleep thinking about it and even dreamed of it. I kept chasing it, but it always slipped out of my reach. I kept calling out Niku, but he played hide and seek with me. The next day we heard that Rohit and Mohit had graduated to the next stage. Niku and I furiously went to the ashram authorities and I requested that we be promoted to the man in charge rumored to be close to the Swami was the one who took such decisions. He wore a neat half-sleeved shirt and glasses, his hair neatly combed back. He laughed at our request before he realized we were serious. You do know what you are asking is impossible, right? He said, his voice strict. But why? I asked. trying to hide the impatience in my voice. We are fully devoted to the cause here and would like to graduate so we are able to contribute more. Why is that such a bad thing? If you are fully devoted, then you must show that by doing well the task assigned to you. We cannot entertain requests based on a random whims and fancies or words, moods that might change the next day. Unable to handle the commitment, the ashram has some rules and they have been made to measure a spiritual journey of a person and they assign them a stage. You cannot just come voltiging in here to demand a graduation. But sir, Niku spoke up. If you could just consider it, I know it's not the norm, but we are really enthusiastic. Also, I have a disease, so I never know when I may have to leave and go to the hospital. It affects the blood directly. So the man narrowed his eyes at us. We do not take kindly to lies. Now, people, return to your assigned place. You let the other two boys graduated to the second stage, but they had a reference, the man said. Their uncle was a permanent member. My mouth fell upon. That was my father. He looked spectacle. Listen, miss, I already told you, we do not take kindly to lies. However, if you do have a reference, you can submit an application with proof. After verification, we can try to do the same for you. Both of us walked back to our quarters. It was too late, yet we agreed that we could not give up after all that we had been through. This was the final hurdle, and we had beaten greater odds than this. We came up and with a plan to sneak into the secret gardens at night. Niku suggested that we mark our path so we could return easily. We arranged for a flashlight and little bottles to store the nectar. We were ready. If from Mathura to Ludhiana the police and criminals could not spot us, neither could the ashram people. But our plan was of no use because early in the evenings I saw Rohit and Mohit pass by, coolly stains of the lal kusam on the outside of their clothes bags. As they smugly told me, game over, we were headed home to Lalaji, you keep trying. I stared at them. Niku said, we could still sneak inside and get some lal kusam. Maybe Lalaji would still consider it. I shook my head. No. But why? Don't give up, Taru. No, I just realized lal kusam is not the magic ingredient. So guys, यहाँ पे हमारा 18 चैप्टर भी ख़त्म होता है. And do subscribe my channel and please like, share and follow also. Thanks for watching.